Former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi appeared on The View on Monday and reflected on President Joe Biden's decision to step aside from the 2024 candidacy for president and the ascension of VP Kamala Harris. Pelosi stressed the point that the nomination was not automatically handed to Harris, can you believe that? That it was by the grace of an open process. Oh, really? Let's watch.
But it wasn't open progress. No, it wasn't open. Anybody could have gotten in. Mm-hmm. She got in and she won, and a president of the United States had endorsed her, who was very respected, so that meant a lot. But people don't understand. Other people could have gotten in. She just locked it up. Politically astute.
So it was a very interesting interview. Pelosi said a number of fascinating things. She said she was asked, in this just very, like, oh my God, you're so great. And Joe Biden's so great. He's such a patriot and he's such a hero. And he's the greatest president ever, doing the most wonderful thing ever when he stepped aside so willingly and so not forced by you. But you did play a big role. So are you good? Are you guys like good? Have you talked? And she did not say that they're good and that they've talked, but she said, and the problem wasn't Joe Biden, the problem was the campaign, and the campaign didn't have a strategy to win, and so we said, but it was his choice, but some people wanted a different choice, but it was a choice that he had to make. That's the way she always says it. It's like, the problem with the campaign was that the candidate was incapable of campaigning. But nobody they don't want to hurt his feelings more than they already have. But I just find it ridiculous. I know we've argued about this before and probably will again, including right now. But the idea that it was an open process and anyone would have gone for it, no. Everyone fell in line between Kamala Harris. There was no process except the elites, the donors, Nancy Pelosi deciding the candidate. They decided it should be Kamala Harris very quickly, and everyone fell in line behind her. There was no process held in case anyone else was interesting. You can say that's fine. You can say, given the emergency of needing to replace Joe Biden, we weren't going to risk doing that, whatever. But I think pretending that there was nothing abnormal about this is just so unbelievable.
Yeah, I would say an abnormal process would have been the Democratic National Convention of 2016, where Bernie delegates were kept outside. This wasn't the case. There were some delegates that were protesting over the war on Gaza, but there were no delegates that were excluded intentionally from casting their ballot for who they believe the nominee should be. Now, this was a scenario, of course, where the campaign was a problem because the candidate was old, and many people believed he was too old to run. And I think that really hurt his organizing strength. We saw as soon as we had a more viable candidate take hold, suddenly they were spending on advertisements on Facebook. Suddenly they had a great media strategy. Suddenly there were people doing grassroots organizing for her. There was an influx of social media content that was created that wasn't paid to be made. And so I think that all speaks to, if you don't have a candidate, there's energy around, you won't have a good campaign. You can blame the campaign or the candidate. If people were rallying around Joe Biden and he was as old as he was and performing as he was, maybe this wouldn't be as much of an issue, but it certainly was. And so, yes, the official process is they didn't have to go and support Kamala Harris at the DNC, but of course they did, because it made sense that when we're this late in the game and when Joe Biden didn't step aside and decide to retire before a primary process could have been had, this is what they had to deal with. And so was it an open process? No, I think that would have happened if Joe Biden had dropped out soon enough that we had a primary. Was it a democratic process? It happened as the law governs political parties, so it wasn't illegal. Do I wish that there was more democracy in our political process? Always, but that's just not reality. So did they break any laws? No. Was it an open process? No. But do I feel like it was a coup? Also, no.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, never said it broke any laws, that they couldn't do it. It's their party. The candidate can be whoever by the bylaws of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party is how the candidate is determined. There have been different times in history where the parties had different processes for picking the candidate, including at some point just cigar smoking people in a back room picking the candidate. That's one way we used to do it. Lately, it's been more of at least pretense of a democratic system where you have primary voters making those determinations, and there are debates, and then there's a kind of the superdelegate process, and it's not always fair. I agree with you that it was totally unfair to Bernie Sanders in 2016. This process, yeah, like you said, it's not open. It was sudden. It was rushed. It was not criminal. I wouldn't describe it either as a coup. I would say that the elites in the party very quickly put their thumbs on the scale to have it be Harris, and that this was, it's not like, because there was no process, there was no democratic process to pick Joe Biden as the candidate this time, him losing the candidacy didn't feel like a betrayal really of democratic principles, because he was not arrived at in a democratic way. So that's not really what the issue is. But, they could have benefited. You certainly would have said it was more open and more democratic if they'd had a debate between her and some of the other possibilities first day of the convention, and then, had the endorsements come rolling in and have the consolidation. But, oh well, that's not what took place.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Nancy Pelosi's existence in the Democratic Party, I believe, is longer than Joe Biden's presence as an elected official. Her father was a key figure in the Democratic Party. I believe her first job was an internship with the Democratic Party. If there's one thing Nancy Pelosi cares about, it's the longevity of power in the Democratic Party. I just didn't realize how much of a mob boss she seemed behind the scenes, that she was, making deals and pulling strings. I honestly didn't think she had that much power behind the scenes. It turns out she does. She's proven that. And it makes sense that Joe Biden doesn't particularly like her, but it also makes sense that her loyalty isn't with Joe Biden. She's pledged her life to the Democratic Party and cares about the long-term power of it. Sometimes she forgets about what the Democratic Party agenda is. But everyone was saying, thanks, Nancy Pelosi, for getting us a better candidate, ensuring we have Tim Walz as VP. You can do some insider trading as a treat, because she famously is one of the best insider traders that we've got. She makes so much money off of her investments. She's acquired so much wealth in her time in office. And now that they're not in the majority, she suddenly says, yes, we should ban members of Congress from trading stocks, right as she's about to retire. This is a woman who likes making deals. And while she hasn't been the most progressive member of the Democratic Party, people are thankful that she's made this one decision, because Biden would have handed them a sure loss.
Yes, she was a powerful voice for thwarting reforms that would prevent members of Congress from betting on the stock market in a nakedly corrupt and deeply concerning to both sides of the political spectrum sort of way. She absolutely stalled that as long as, or as much as she possibly could. She, of course, has massive investments. She's the representative of the Silicon Valley area. She has tech investments. Her husband has investments in Facebook, actually. So you can see why she was not so excited about the Stock Act, the one proposed by more populist or libertarian, progressive-leaning members of Congress. I can give on both the kind of far left and far right, only people who can agree that maybe members of Congress shouldn't be trading stocks on information based on their own rule setting of the market, that it's totally reprehensible. But Nancy Pelosi felt differently for some reason. That does it for us today on Rising. Great having you here. Jessica will, of course, be reacting to the debate tonight. We will have some immediate reaction in the midst of the debate and again after the debate. So log on tonight and you'll get some very, very just breaking commentary from us on what we see.
Yes, every debate this cycle has been very exciting so far. So looking forward to it, Robby.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any of our content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you can find podcasts. See you later.
Bye, y'all.